All right, we are back, Rage Nation. Again, another behind the scenes look of what it takes to get a radio interview, or at least how we do it these days. Technology is awesome. Before we get into it, this is Zachary. He is from Blackout the Sun from Mobile, Alabama. Zach, what's up, man?
How's it going, man? How's it hanging with you?
Chilling, bro. Starting to sweat this hurricane season. I don't know about you.
Well, being from Mobile, I'm all too familiar. We deal with them. I wouldn't say every year, but pretty regularly. I mean, I'm from part of the country where we don't even get scared unless it's a Cat 4 or 5. So, um, we're always prepared.
Yeah, we're down here in Lake Charles, so we're out on the Gulf Coast with you.
Right, right. So you understand what I'm talking about.
All right. So if you're watching this video and you want to help support our mission of providing a global platform to independent and unsigned bands, one of the real, like, maybe I needed some caffeine before I came on here. One of the real easy ways to do it, everybody shops on Amazon. Just put in our Amazon affiliate link, tinyurl.com/Amazon link MO. Save that on your browser. We'll receive a small commission every time anyone makes a purchase, and we sure would appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Segment 1 in 3, 2, 1. Indie Rage Radio, IndieRageRadio.com. Really stoked about this one right here, folks. Found this artist on Space Untravel. I like to use Space Untravel. I like to use what's the other one? Dreambound to find some new
Yes.
artists, and stumbled across Blackout the Sun, and I knew I had to have him on the show. Everybody, please welcome Zachary to the Indie Rage Nation. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man?
Not much, brother. Having a good time. Look, the Indie Rage Nation, they are quite a curious bunch. So we like to play a game so they get to know you a little bit better in segment 1, okay?
Okay.
We're going to play 10 rounds with Mikey O. That's kind of like a this or that. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 or 3 things, and you just tell me which one you like the best. All right, here we go. Since you're from Alabama, we're going to start off with some Alabama stuff at the very beginning. Round number 1, Roll Tide or War Eagle?
Easiest of my life. Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
You know what? I used to work for Walmart back in the day. And being from Louisiana, of course, LSU, Nick Saban, the Tide, we got some things going on. And, right. And of course, for some reason, we don't like the Dallas Cowboys either. I got Roll Tided and how about them Cowboys in one day from separate vendors. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Bama has been so successful the past 15, 20 years, which I'm only 28, so I've been lucky enough to live most of my life in the Saban era. So this year is going to be crazy. I had a full blown mental breakdown when he retired. I mean, I'm so used to enjoying college football. I watch every game that comes on. I'm a huge college football fan. And so, considering my other favorite teams and other sports are not very good, I kind of live vicariously through Alabama. And but if anybody will tell you I'm the most level-headed Alabama fan, like I will tell you when Alabama's doing wrong. I will tell you when I don't think we have a good enough team. Like you've got those delusional people that think that they're going to win the championship every year. I'm not like that at all.
Right on. Well, I appreciate hearing that because there's a lot of them out there. They used to be Oklahoma Sooner fans. Yeah, but now they're Alabama fans. But yeah, we appreciate that down here in Louisiana for sure. All right, round number 2. A lot of gambling in Mobile. Gambling or saving money?
Saving money. My father actually has gotten into casino life over the past few years. And growing up, I did not grow up in a household where we did that. So it's been odd. So he took me to a casino. I've been to casino a few times, like to watch shows, because just a hop, skip, and a jump from Mobile is Biloxi, and the Hard Rock down there is a huge music venue. A lot of bands come through there, so that's where I get to see a lot of concerts. And so I'd been there before, but going into an actual casino, I understand it because I watched him win money and I can understand the thrill of it. But watching that and then watching him lose it like 15 minutes later is like, no, this is not for me. I'm not a gambler, but I understand why it can be so addicting for sure.
I work with a guy. His name is Mike also. They're starting to call us Chuck Vegas over here because we got a lot of casinos here in Lake Charles. This guy has Lady Luck by his side every time he goes into, whether it's the Gold Nugget or the Burge or anything like that. He likes to do the one-armed bandits. And man,
okay.
Him and his wife, they'll come out every time winning a few $100s, winning a few $1,000s. Like, I think a few months ago, a coworker of mine was like telling me, "Did you hear Mike won $11,000 the other night?" I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
That's also like a tax nightmare too. Like, that would scare me to death. Like, to win the money and then go, oh, now I have. Not only do I have like the stress of like getting out of this casino, but I also have a stress of like, I got to get this to my tax people now. You know.
Yeah, don't forget about that. Uncle Sam be coming after you hard.
Absolutely.
All right. Round number 3. Azaleas or magnolias?
This is tough. So I am from Mobile. That's where I was born and raised. However, I actually grew up just across the state line in Mississippi in a little town called Lucedale. And that is that's my home. That's what I think of as home, but Mobile is the next closest city. So magnolia is actually the state flower of Mississippi, and it's on their state flag. And when they changed their state flag a few years ago, which was a huge like national story because, of course, it still had a lot of the old Confederacy stuff. When they announced like the new flags, the one that I wanted them to pick is the one they actually picked, which had the magnolia on it. And so I'm actually going to go magnolia for this because it is. I think Mississippi has like a top 3 state flag now. That new state flag is unbelievable, and I'm a huge visual guy. Like, if like certain flags, like the South Carolina flag, kind of stands out because it's so different than the other ones. I've always been like that. Like, if a flag stands out, California is another one where it's so different. So I love magnolias. I mean, I love azaleas too. I know in Mobile specifically, there's like a huge festival about it. So I probably lost a little bit of Alabama points for choosing magnolias instead. But they're both beautiful. I mean, can't really say I dislike either one.
Right on. Round number 4. Seafood, beef, or chicken?
This is a difficult question. So obviously you can tell by the video, I'm a bigger guy. So I love food. Honestly, I love all 3.
Amen.
They're all, if they're prepared, fantastic. But considering where I live, I've been to other places and had good chicken. I've been to other places and had good beef. My day job is I'm actually an over-the-road truck driver, so I'm all around the country eating all kinds of stuff. Nobody does seafood like the Gulf Coast. It's just nobody does it. I've had decent from other places, but just the way it's prepared in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida even, you just can't beat it to me. And it's my favorite. Seafood is my favorite, so I guess I just had to go seafood anyway. But I just love the way we prepare it down here.
Right on. Round number 5, flying or driving?
I've actually never flown before. That's probably odd to hear, but and considering that I drive for a living, probably should like driving more. If I didn't, then I'm probably in the wrong career. But I mean, I would love to experience flying, and I'm sure I will someday. At some point, I will. At least I hope so. I mean, if music ever takes off, I'm going to have to fly. So I'm not afraid of it by any means. I just have never had a reason to, really. So never have. But I'll say driving for now.
Hey, you got to get that new driver's license next year if you want to fly too. You got to have the
unfamiliar.
You got to have the national ID to get on a plane, like in May 2000.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that. Well, you have to get your license renewed as a as a truck driver anyway, pretty regularly. So I'm sure I'll get mine done before then anyway.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've flown a few times, and I wish I've never would have flown.
Oh, you're not a fan, huh?
No, it's terrible. One time, look, I'm a big guy too, and flying is made for small people. And one time I was coming back from Orlando to Dallas, and I was walking up to my seat, and I was like, yes, this girl looks like olive oil. This is going to be amazing. And it still sucked.
Oh, man.
I had an aisle seat. So I was like, man, I can like poke out in the aisle a little bit and I'll have more space. No, that was even worse because people are always trying to get by. The stewardesses were walking with the cart. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Round number 6, CD or digital download?
This is a tough one because either way, it's kind of like there's positives and negatives to both. Like I said, I'm a visual guy, so CDs I relate to a good bit because, of course, being able to physically hold it. I was the guy when I would buy a CD. I would read the lyrics. I wanted to know who produced it, who mixed it, what studio did they go to, who's their record label, who were they thanking in the album credits. Like, I was a big nerd about that kind of stuff. But the convenience of having a digital download is so important today. I actually had a conversation with this about another musician buddy of mine yesterday. I am completely for digital as long as the payout is a little bit better than what it is now. I don't think it needs to be astronomically better. I know some artists are pushing for like crazy numbers and stuff, and I understand if they have a platform for that and they want to advocate for that, that's fine. I'm more of just bump it up a little bit, right? If we could get artists to be able to make a living off of their streams alone, that would be really cool. I mean, obviously, as somebody who is more on the lower end of the streams, when I look in my accounts, when I get my streams, it sometimes is surprising how much money I do make, but I can understand. I'm essentially a glorified solo artist, so all that money goes back to me. If you have a 5-person band and a manager and all this stuff, there's not enough money there. Like, there just isn't. But I would say they both have their place, but I consume more digital media, so I'll choose that one.
Well, if Spotify CEO Daniel Ek has his say about it, which he's not scared to say it. The other day, I saw a story. He was like, you know what? Music barely costs anything to produce these days. So what are these artists essentially crying about for my 0.3 of a penny that I give them?
Right. I would say that's half true. If you invest on the front end on a lot of stuff, you can make your money back with your production. But I mean, as a musician in the space, I know how much to go get a hard rock or metalcore song is for a decent amount of money. You're spending thousands of dollars, and that's for one single. That's not for an EP. That's not for an album. And I mean, metal and rock, as unfortunate as it is, as much as I love it, it pales in comparison in terms of how much it costs than like even rap country. I mean, you got some country artists that have 160 tracks on their songs and they've got 15 session musicians. All those people have to be paid, and they're all getting paid. So metal is one of the more, I would say, inexpensive genres to go produce, and it's still expensive. I mean, with inflation the way it is, I can't drop $1,000 just willy-nilly to go get a song recorded. That's why I spent so much of my early 20s learning how to record and mix and stuff. That's why I do it all in-house. I mean, I've spent a lot of money to get where I'm at over time, but still, like, it's crazy that you have people that make so much money and want to belittle people over fractions of a penny. It's never going to look good. It's just, you're not going to win. a peace prize with anybody talking like that.
Yeah, screw that guy. All right, round number 7, Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo?
I have owned all of them. I'm a huge gamer. It's one of the few things I do get to do in my truck in my free time. And so I own an Xbox Series S, and I do like it a lot. I do love the console, but healthy rivalries. I think about this in music too, but specifically video games is very good. And so when they're all three making really good products and producing games, because a lot of them now own game studios and stuff, so they basically own the entire market from the consoles to the peripherals like the controllers and stuff, and then also the games. They're all in a pretty good to decent spot right now. So all of them are fantastic. I do want to get a Switch, and I wouldn't mind owning a PS5, but a lot of the same games transfer to Xbox anyway. But I've been an Xbox guy since the 360. I bought the one. Now I have a Series S. Also PC game every once in a while when I'm home, but not very often. But so I'll say Xbox. Just for that's what I mainly use.
Right on. All right, let's see. Round number 8. Who would win in a fight? The Justice League or the Avengers?
So I'll be honest and say I don't know as much about comics as many people do now, especially even with like the comic book movies. I'm so burnt out on all of them. There's just too many. I'm just so overwhelmed by the knowledge, and now that I got to watch shows. Like it was just movies beforehand, and now I got to watch shows and read books and stuff. And I just don't have enough time in the day. If I remember correctly, though, I think the Justice League has more people in it than the Avengers. Like in terms of like the core Justice League, it's probably bigger than the core amount of Avengers. Because I mean, Avengers eventually like 40 people ended up in there. So if you wanted to just say the Avengers, just by sheer volume, I would probably so. But I'm one of those people like just because it's popular doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, Superman is Superman. Like he is supposed to be like the number one guy, and as cool as Spider-Man is, as cool as like the Hulk and Thor and um, Captain America and all them. To me, like Superman is like the epitome, and then like the coolest anti-hero. My favorite comic book character is actually John Constantine, just because I love the Constantine movies. And Batman is considered the best anti-hero. So to me, for just those two things alone, it's got to be Justice League, even though the movies don't say that. But Justice League is probably, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. It's Superman, it's Batman, and like, I mean, in terms of fast characters, I would rather be the Flash too. And so you end up having like the upper hand to me, just based off like the first 3 or 4 you talk about.
Yeah, most definitely. Because when people say Avengers, my rebuttal is who's taking care of Superman at the end of the day. Like I can see
Right.
an Avenger taking out somebody from DC, of course, but at the end of the day, Superman is going to be standing there. Nobody's taking him out.
Right. At the end of the day, like I think like if you like had a legitimate sit down and think about the strategies that would go into the fight and really nerd out about it, you probably would be disappointed by some of the fan favorites. Like Batman, how is he actually going to do as much damage as you think he is? He actually doesn't have superpowers, but it's his, technology and things he has around him. Very similar to Iron Man. Are they going to hold up as opposed to like, the Hulk or something that has like something biologically that changed with them? But at the same time, like at the end, like Superman's from a different planet, and he is just his whole shtick is he is the best at everything. So at the end of the day, it's like if he's the best at everything, then he's the best. And you could put 20 superheroes on him, he will eventually be the best.
Yeah, and in fact, in one of the Justice League movies, when he was brought back to life and he was kind of crazy in the head for a little bit, like all the other Justice League members had to essentially fight him because he was wanting to fight them, and he was kicking the crap out of all of them. He was faster than the Flash. He was stronger than Wonder Woman and Aquaman. It was crazy.
Right. Imagine you're the Flash and this guy's lost it and he just suddenly is faster than you, and you go, but that's my thing. Like, it's like it's a similar thing. Like, there's always like usually one guy in the band that is like crazy good at all the instruments, and you're just like, why? What? Like, you're like, I've been in bands where I played guitar, just guitar and didn't sing, and then like the drummer would grab my guitar and just start noodling, and I'm like, why am I even in this band? Like, it's just like, you should figure out how to play all of them because you're just that good.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Round number 9, metalcore or pop punk?
Can I go in the middle and say easy core? Because it's kind of both.
There you go.
I do love both of those genres. I would say I listen to more metalcore than I do pop punk. Obviously, my music is really influenced by metalcore, but I love pop punk music. I, like a lot of people, had a huge pop punk phase in college. Like, that's where I kind of found, and I'm super late. Like, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater growing up, and that was like my first exposure to the genre, and I didn't realize it at the time. Like, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which had like Goldfinger and some of those bands on it, and I loved it. I just didn't know what that was. Like, I listened to Green Day some and some Blink 182 and stuff, but I got into pop punk with Neck Deep's album Life's Not Out to Get You, and then I kind of went back and started listening to some of the stuff that I missed out on. Like, and I liked My Chemical Romance and stuff, but they were more punk than they were pop a lot of the times. So I liked them, but I didn't see them in the same genre. And I love Story of the Year. They're kind of similar. They're like right on the edge. They're kind of more emo. But then once I got into, middle school and high school, I remember I was the weird kid in like 4th grade that was listening to like All That Remains and Killswitch Engage, and I have my brother to thank for that. We were always jamming that stuff out when he would come pick me up from school and stuff, and would definitely not have become a musician or love the music that I do without his influence, for sure.
Yeah. I think everybody has that person in their life. For me, it was my Uncle Vince. I remember sitting in his truck in the 80s, and I was young. I was probably like, I don't know, elementary school aged. And he was like, hey, you heard Van Halen's new song? And I said,
oh, yeah.
Well, what's a Van Halen? He was like, what? And then he played Jump for me. And I was like, rock and roll, where have you been my whole life?
I have been very lucky. I grew up in a very musical household. Now, nobody played instruments and stuff. My grandfather actually played in a bluegrass band with all of his family because he lived in a big family. And it kind of skipped a generation because my dad wasn't really a musician, but he loved music. I mean, he was one of those guys that in the 80s, he had thousands of dollars in his stereo. Like, in the 80s, that's a lot of money. But he loved music. My mother loves music. And so growing up, music was all in my house. And I mean, I had like cheap little guitars around and stuff. And I remember my parents ended up buying me the Walmart First Act guitar. And we're like, we're going to test to see if you're actually going to try this. And it sat and collected dust for a few years. And then finally, my brother had been playing drums for a few years, and he was playing. And then some of his buddies come over to our house for once and actually practiced. And I was hooked. I was like, I got the energy that was coming from a practice like that. I was like, I have to be a part of it. And so I just grinded and got better. And then eventually they got me a better guitar and stuff. But I would say in terms of like the kind of music that I listen to and that I write and play, it's definitely pretty much, I wouldn't say solely, but mostly influenced by my brother, for sure.
Right on. All right, in round number 10, the finale of 10 Rounds with Mikey O. Mohawk or mullet?
That's tough because if you'd asked this question 5 years ago, it would be Mohawk for sure because the mullets wasn't back yet. Now every baseball player in existence has one. And I have long hair, which I'd never had long hair up until like a year or two ago. I always kind of kept it shorter. It would grow out a little bit and then I'd get it cut. So they kind of both have their place depending on what you listen to. Like I said, if I'm watching a baseball like a game or something, like if I'm watching the Braves, which is my team, and one of the players comes up with a mullet, I'm like, this dude better be good because he has a mullet. That's kind of the thing. But if I go to a show and the vocalist walks up with a mohawk, I kind of know what I'm getting into, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I kind of know it may get a little bit rowdy in here, but energy is going to be fantastic. If I had to choose one to have, I probably would choose mullet. I feel like that would be more comfortable for me than having to do all the care for like getting the hair up. But like I said, they kind of both have their place. Like if I go to a punk show and everybody's got mohawks, I know I'm probably gonna have a good time. They're probably gonna have a lot of infectious energy. So, but for me, mullet for sure.
Well, I tell you what, Zach, we got so much in common, man. Like, dude, in the 90s, like the Braves were my squad, bro. I've become more of a casual
Oh
baseball
yeah,
fan in my later years, but back then, bro, when I was collecting baseball cards and doing the whole thing, dude, Chipper Jones, Otis
Maddox and
Nixon,
Smoltz
Terry
and all them.
Pendleton, the crime dog, Fred McGriff, Javi Lopez, all the pitchers that they had. Oh man, so many great memories tied to the Braves.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a little bit more of a passive fan myself, but my grandmother was a huge Braves baseball fan, and nobody liked watching baseball. This is the side of the family that were ravage Alabama fans too. So my dad's side of the family loved Alabama. My grandmother loved baseball, and she would, watch the Braves, and my grandfather would watch it with her, but didn't really care. But when he passed away, she would sit in there by herself and watch the games, and I felt bad. I was a teenager. I was like 12 or 13, and so I finally decided I'm gonna go in there and sit with her because I feel bad for her. And I got so hooked on it. So when we would go visit for the weekend, I would watch them with her. So when they won the championship in 2021, I got really emotional because unfortunately, the last time she had watched them win a championship was in the 90s because she passed away only a year later. But to be able to watch them win a World Series in my lifetime, wasn't sure if that was going to happen again, and it happened so immaculately. They were the worst team going into the playoffs that year and just turned it on somehow. It was a beautiful story, and of course the team they beat, they still hate Houston for that cheating thing, and it's been 7 years. But then it was still kind of fresh, and this was their first time being back in the championship picture, so everyone was like rooting for the Braves. They were like, unless you were a Houston fan, everybody was rooting for the Braves. So it was awesome because again, I'm a huge Alabama fan. Nobody roots for Alabama. I mean, North Korea could play Alabama in a football game for the United States, and they would still want Alabama to lose. Like that's how much people don't like Alabama. So it's just one of those things. So.
All right. Well, that's 10 rounds with Mikey O with Zach from Blackout the Sun. Let's talk about your brand new single. What's this song about?
Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry.
Are you set to move anytime soon?
No, sir.
Okay, relay.
Okay. Oh, you're good. Oh no, you're fine. I'm so sorry.
That's not good, bro.
I had a gentleman being at a truck stop. Like I said, I'm out here on the road working. He undoubtedly thought that I was trying to leave when I have my visors up. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me go ahead. I'll go back to that.
Okay.
And that, my friends, is 10 rounds with Mikey O with Zachary from Blackout the Sun. Let's go ahead and talk about your current single that you're supporting. It's called Free Falling. What's the song about?
Well, like most music, I feel like it's best expressed either with a story that is something that's happened to you or something that's happened close to you. Specifically, this one was something that happened to me. I was in a relationship at the end of last year and early this year, and I had like a major life-changing moment that happened. And the relationship changed because of it. And for like a week-long period, I could tell something was up, something had changed, and I would ask her questions about like what's going on. I feel like something's changed. I feel like, and I don't think she was maliciously doing it, but it was one of those things where I think she was, you know, trying to, come to terms with what was going on and was like, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. But it kind of had me a state in suspense, like I was waiting on the ball to drop. I was waiting on the curtain to close, and then it eventually did, and so I was validated. But during that time before it happened, it felt like I was free falling. It did. It felt like I was like in a state where I couldn't reach out for anything, and I knew it was coming. Like that was going to hit the ground. I knew it was going to happen, but I couldn't stop it. And a lot of the reasons why I felt that way was because of the things she would tell me. She would just tell me, things are okay, things are fine. You have nothing to worry about. And so when I wrote the music to that song first, and then when the chorus came, I knew I kind of had the hook of the free falling part, and then I kind of got thinking, what does this mean to me? Why am I writing the song about this sensation? And then the using words as weapons to make my heart cave in came, like, and I was like, can I fit that in that space? I don't know how. I'm gonna have to figure that out. It was just like a sentence that came to me, and so I worked it and it got in. And so it's just a song about feeling suspense or walking on eggshells. I know a lot of people say that, when you're with somebody that makes you feel, not confident in what's happening, and you know instill seeds of doubt within you that things may not be going right. And so that's kind of, what I eventually wrote the song about. And I remember listening to it, the final version of it, and going, like, this was a capsule of how I felt in just a week's time. But when I hear the song, I can still think back to that time, about, just even a few months ago, and just go, wow, that's, as wellly articulated as I could with that feeling.
Here it is. It's Blackout the Sun with Free Falling on Indie Rage Radio. All right, very cool. Segment 2. Oh. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mobile.
Okay.
Here we go. Segment 2 in 3, 2, 1. Indie Rage Radio, IndieRageRadio.com. We are back with Zach from Blackout the Sun. Mobile, Alabama debut album, Cycle of Pain, is out right now. You can stream it. You can go purchase it. Go support Blackout the Sun. Where can people find you on the internet, Zach?
Well, the only social media that I'm super around on is Facebook, which I know is like an old, as the kids call boomer thing, but it's the one I use the most. It's the one that, and Instagram. I don't take as many pictures as I probably should for an Instagram, but I have a Facebook, and it's Blackout the Sun AL for Facebook, and for Instagram it's Blackout the Sun Rock. Somebody had already taken AL, I guess. I don't know why they're different. I think I tried to go back and change the Instagram one, and it wouldn't let me. I guess somebody already had it. So, but those are the social medias that I'm on. I also do have a TikTok as well that I post stuff on, especially when music is coming out and stuff. And it's Blackout the Sun AL as well.
So let's talk about some fun facts from Mobile, Alabama. I found this extremely interesting. So Mobile was the first capital of French Louisiana in 1702. And the USA bought the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. So that was like 100 years before the Louisiana Purchase got even bought by the USA. And they paid $115 million for it. With inflation, that would be $417 million today. And Mardi Gras,
which is still crazy cheap. That's still like
crazy
unbelievably cheap.
Yeah, today that would be trillions of dollars that you would probably have to pay for it. And Mardi Gras started in Mobile in 1703. How cool is that?
That is, the Mardi Gras thing is, if you don't know that fact and you're from Mobile, then you're an implant. Like, if you don't know that, because I can't tell you, anytime hurricane season happens and the Weather Channel and I'm not trying to throw shade, but the Weather Channel always does this where they talk about New Orleans, and it's where Mardi Gras is, and like they're not incorrect because Mardi Gras does happen there. However, it started in Mobile. That's where it started, and the French, Mobile being under kind of French jurisdiction for 100 years, it's very very prevalent in downtown Mobile where the architecture is super French and it's gorgeous. That's why I like the cathedral, like the Catholic Cathedral in Mobile, is super French looking. It's a gorgeous place. A lot of downtown Mobile is that way, and a lot of the town names in the county of Mobile. Mobile County is a huge county. It's like I think it's probably hundreds of square miles. It's massive, and so like you'll have places like Mobile and Sims in these towns, and then on the coast, like by the water, you have Bayou La Battery, which sounds like it comes from Louisiana because Louisiana has the French connection, but a lot of coastal Alabama also does too, especially around the Mobile area. So yeah, the French roots run deep. Actually, a very interesting fact about me, I found this out when I was in high school. I am actually somehow a direct descendant of Napoleon Bonaparte on my
Oh, wow.
father's side. So the French connection, even with me, runs deep, which I know everyone likes to, meme on the French, but I think it's cool. It is a cool thing. So when people say I have a Napoleon complex, they're not lying. When I get in my little ragey, because I'm only 5'7", I'm short, so my little ragey short man moments, and they go, "You have a Napoleon complex." I'm like, "Correct, I do. I actually do."
Yeah, let me tell you a story. Back in 1930, red fire ants were first introduced to the U.S. through the Port of Mobile. Thanks a lot, Mobile.
You're welcome. I guess Mobile's not. Again, I'm realistic. Mobile is good and bad depending on what you look into, and that's one of the bad ones for sure. Somebody didn't keep them out, and now the whole country can thank us for when you accidentally step in an ant bed and you get really tore up by one, because when you get bit by one of those, it is insane.
Mm-hmm. Mobile is home to 5 MLB Hall of Famers: Hank Aaron, Billy Williams, William McCovey, Satchel Paige, and Ozzie Smith. How about that?
Yeah, I knew about Ozzie Smith and obviously Hank Aaron. Like I said, I'm more of a casual baseball guy, so some of those other ones I didn't know were from Mobile. But Hank Aaron, I mean, the baseball stadium in Mobile is Hank Aaron Stadium. It is an unfortunate shame because we've had a AA team for forever, and they relocated because people weren't coming out to the games, so they moved to Rocket City, Alabama, and so the Bay Bears, which to me was a staple of the AA, baseball league. It was always one of those that had been around for so long. The fact that it's gone is a little bit disappointing, but yeah, I've honestly, this whole area of the country, Mobile, and like I said, where I grew up most of my life in Lucedale, Mississippi, there's a lot of baseball players. There's actually one of the starting pitchers for the Cubs, Justin Steele. I went to high school with him. He's my age. We graduated together. Super, super nice guy. I mean, you wouldn't know he was a starting pitcher of a team because he's just super down to earth. So I'm excited for him. And I mean, again, just this area is huge for baseball as well. Just, all around the Gulf Coast.
So let's go ahead and talk about your song Wildfire. What's the song about?
Wildfire is one of the strangest things that I've ever had happen to me in my life. I had the intro to that song, the little acoustic part. That is like almost like a warm-up lick riff technique thing that I had been doing for years. And I finally decided to incorporate it into a song, wrote the music for it, had the idea for the lyrics, wrote the lyrics, and got it done. So as somebody who is religious, I never wanted my music stuff to be religious specifically because you get pigeonholed into a community. A lot of people think, specifically with like the Christian music scene, that they make music for Christians and Christians only, and I did not want that because I am not that kind of person. I am the kind of person that will be friends with anybody, no matter what they believe. If you're a good person, you do good things. I'm usually, really cordial with you. I try to be friends with as many people as possible. But I wrote the song about. It was almost like a love song. That's kind of how I wrote it. It wasn't about anybody that I was, seeing at the time, or even that I like had a thing for or anything. It was just a song. I thought it was nice. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, and then listened to it. And for some reason, I've listened to it in a more religious context about how almost like, and just based off what I believe, God's love for us being more like a wildfire. And it struck such a chord with me. I was like, I didn't write this song for what I thought I wrote it for. I thought I wrote it for that, but now to me this fits. And then I was like, okay, so I finished the song mixing it, and then I showed it to some friends of mine, and it was almost like 50-50. They were like, someone was like, oh, it's a beautiful love song, and some of them was like, this is pretty religious, like you've never written anything. And it was just like such a perfect blend between the both of them. I was like, this to me is like my favorite song I've ever written. And I do love Free Falling, obviously. Wildfire is still my favorite song I've ever written. And it is so, I wouldn't say different, but it kind of is a little bit different because you can hear the metalcore influences on a lot of my stuff. But that one is like a straight like rock, like almost like arena type love ballad song, which is so different from anything else on the album besides maybe a different song that was on there. But specifically that one, I do love that song. And so what I love about it is that you can take and interpret that song many different ways. It's a love song. It just depends on who you love or who you want to receive the love from. And again, it's not just Christian. I mean, other religions have very similar ideologies to what I'm kind of explaining in the song. So it was a really fun song to write and be a part of, and I had a really good time writing it.
Here it is. It's Wildfire from Blackout the Sun on Indie Rage Radio. All right, very good. The segment 3, we kind of like to do like a thing where like if people are coming into town, where's like the best stuff? We're going to talk about like the best restaurant, the best rock venue, and then what part of town to stay out of. Like the dangerous part.
Right.
Oh, and before we go to segment 3, man, I was telling the wife the other day, I've always wanted to be an OTR driver ever since I was in high school. And I was like, man, once these kids get out this house, why don't I just do OTR and we'll just travel the country?
So what I'll tell you as somebody, I've been doing it for over 2 years now. So I've been doing it for a while. If you get with a good company and they kind of, I wouldn't say like stay off of you, but in a way of like, they'll let you deliver early. They'll let you take a little bit of leisure time. They'll let you do. It's great. Some companies, they don't. Again, it is work 24/7. And when you do a little bit more research on how the clock works and like how much you have to run, you may work 10 days straight, and you're like, I've worked 10-hour, 12-hour days. I am exhausted. Even like just sitting in the seat, it can be exhausting. Today, just for an example, I started the day just south of Atlanta. Drove all the way down to past Orlando to deliver, picked up another load, and now I'm going back up to around Savannah, Georgia to deliver. And I drove like 400 something miles, but it was so stressful because it's 4th of July. Everyone's going to Disney, and I had to go right by it on my route. I couldn't. So it was awful today. So I'm pretty tired today, but I'll have some days where like I went up and went through like a few years ago. I went through like Wyoming, and it was gorgeous. And I got out of my truck and I took pictures. And as somebody that, again, I haven't flown before, I'm not a big traveler, so this was a huge culture shock when I first started. So if you stay with a good company, it's good. I will say, I've worked for a few different companies already. I'm with Schneider right now, which is obviously a huge company. They don't pay very, very well, But the job I had before this paid well, and it was awful. I was stressed out all the time. Sucked so badly because they just stressed me all the time, calling me like 24/7. They'd wake me up at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask if I was moving yet, and I'm like,
Oh, Lord.
I stopped at 5 p.m. yesterday, and it takes me an hour or two to wind down. And I went to sleep. Like my clock's not even ready yet, and they're bothering me. This company is way more laid back and chill. As long as you like let them know ahead of time about stuff like, hey, I may be a little bit late picking this up, or hey, or whatever. They never call you. You're good. I mean, I really do like this job. So just depending on what company you go with. And the other thing that I would give you advice on is, at least for right now with the economy the way it is, do not lease. If you lease a truck, you are going to get screwed. That's the nicest way I can put it. The way it's cynical way of looking at it, but they would not offer it if they don't benefit from it more than you do.
Right.
Like if you want to buy a truck, find a way to save up the money to buy it, which I know is very difficult. I'm not doing that. I'm a company driver. I'd rather do that anyway. But it's a rewarding career because I mean, again, when I go into a grocery store and see something on the shelf, I go, it had to get here on a truck. If I do certain things, so it can feel, it's very rewarding work, but at the same time, like, you just got to get the right company. If you get the right
Yeah.
company, and a lot of these companies will send you to school and stuff too to get your CDL and stuff, and they're really good schools and stuff, just kind of the normal thing of
Yeah.
just, some companies are great, some companies are not. That's in every single industry. You're not going to find, uh,
Word.
much
Well,
different in trucking or whatever.
I definitely don't want to name drop any of the companies on here, but I'll hit you up on the DM with some of the companies that I was thinking about
Yes,
and see if
sir.
you heard
You're
anything.
totally good. Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Segment 3 in 3, 2, 1. Indie Rage Radio, IndieRageRadio.com. We are back with Zach from Blackout the Sun. We're going to continue our little conversation on Mobile. Now, look, let's go ahead and shout out our listeners from one of our station affiliates over in Portland, Oregon at KPSU on the campus of Portland State University, 89.1 FM. So say somebody from Portland, Zach, is hopping on the Spirit. They're flying down the Mobile, and they want an awesome seafood experience. What's the best seafood restaurant they need to go check out?
Oh my goodness, that's so tough. There's so many good ones. Honestly, any of them that you go to, that look sketchy are probably good. Like, just like, if a gas station sells seafood, I know that sounds crazy because, of course, the joke of gas station sushi, and I don't mean sushi in general. I mean, sushi to me is almost its own kind of separate thing from seafood, even though it kind of is seafood. But like, if any place, like pretty much in Mobile that you go to that,
You're frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but we might be losing you. You're frozen on my end. I wonder if Zach's hooked up to the Wi-Fi at the truck stop. Because I guess depending on how far you're out, depends on how good your signal is. Or if he's going straight data. We'll wait for him to log back on here. just announced on Facebook today that we're promoting our first band. 13 minutes from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Their song Cult Leader. Gonna be pushing them out to the secondary market rock chart, all their reporting stations. Getting hot in here. Let me message Zach right here. Yo.
It's crazy because you froze on my end.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. Because I went through a whole spiel about how I didn't remember the restaurant name that I went to or whatever, and then was done, and I was like, "Oh, he hasn't talked in a minute." And then I did this, and nothing happened, and I was like, "Oh no, something happened."
Yeah. Are you on data or like the truck stop Wi-Fi?
I have my own Wi-Fi. I have Verizon internet, and so I'm hooked to that just in case. And it's 25 megabit. It should be fast enough. I don't know. Maybe it hiccuped on me or something. It's been good this whole time until now. So I don't know why that just happened, but I apologize.
Hey, it's no problem. So we'll go ahead and take it from. I'll go ahead and edit it where you kind of ended talking right there, and then we'll just go to the next topic.
Okay.
All right, Zach. So they got some great seafood. They got the belly full. They need to rock that off. They need to go sweat. What rock venue should they go see an awesome rock show?
Well, there's actually a few, and I kind of lump in some of these other towns around Mobile on purpose, partly because I do fully believe in the scene that we have, and it's not just Mobile in general. There, because things are so close to drive to, the Gulf Coast itself, as we call it, the Gulf Coast music scene, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and even into Florida, specifically, like I guess Pensacola is kind of where it is. There's some venues in Panama City as well, which I guess would be considered the Gulf Coast. But in terms of Mobile, my favorite venue in Mobile is Soul Kitchen, which I know is like a pretty standard venue, but I do love that place. It's a very good place to see a show. I'm actually going to see Wage War in October there.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that. That's going to be a great show. Wage War era. Throne, which is a crazy heavy band that I really like, and Fame on Fire, that's a really good and interesting lineup because they're all in the same like sphere but a little bit different. But other venues, obviously in Biloxi, I mean the Hard Rock is just fantastic. It's such a good place to see a show. There were some other venues there that were really good. When I was in a hardcore band, I played in a venue called Crooked Letter. I loved that place. I'm sad it closed down. Pensacola, I mean, just there's all kinds of different places that you can go see a show there too. I mean, there's a lot of good venues in the South, but my favorite out of all of them is probably still Soul Kitchen. It's really good. There's actually, I went and saw Alter Bridge at Mobile's version of the Fillmore, which is also a very cool venue. But I've only been there one time, so it's kind of hard. I've been to Soul Kitchen a few times, and I really like that place. So I would say that's my favorite venue in Mobile.
Shout out to Miles Kennedy. I got to interview him a few years ago, and not only is he a really cool dude, but like I'm a big wrestling fan, and like I was asking him, man, did you know Edge was going to use your song for his intro song? And he was like, well, we thought it was going to be used for a pay-per-view, but we're really glad that Edge uses it all the time because we get paid more.
Right, of course. And I actually was a huge wrestling fan as a kid, then fell off of it, and then like right after they came back after the pandemic, I got really into it, and I'm still really into it. I watched Raw the other night. I'm into it again. So, yeah, my one of my dreams is to write a song for a wrestler. That is definitely on like a bucket list of
Yes.
things I want to do as a musician before. I can't play anymore. Something happens. I would love to write a song for a wrestler.
And a headphone malfunction here. Check. 1 2.
Check.
1 2.
Check. Can you hear me?
This is totally on my end. There we go.
Oh, okay.
All right, so they caught that rockin' show. It is dark outside. Zach, what part of Mobile should they stay away from?
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of places at night in Mobile that you do want to be in. I would say Mobile, if you look up statistics, crime-wise, it's one of the actually worst places in the country in terms of crime. You hear about certain cities, and I'm not going to name drop them, that are notoriously bad for crime, but per capita, Mobile's usually worse. They're usually pretty bad. I'm not going to name drop certain cities, but I will say like downtown area, not fantastic, and anywhere that's close to I-65, kind of, you don't want to be there too terribly late, which unfortunately is just Mobile in general. So I would just say, like, if you're ever going to go out, go with friends, go with people you trust. If you're going to go bar hopping downtown, which you can, and you can have a good time, always have a DD. If not, Uber is available in Mobile. We're not that country down here. We do have things and taxis and stuff. So definitely, make sure you get home safe and have a good time, but also like be aware of your surroundings. And I mean that goes for almost any city, I would say. If there's certain areas that you don't want to be in, and if you are in those areas, because that's where the stuff is, just make sure you go with people that you trust, that if the situation gets crazy, it's time to go. It's time to go home.
That reminds me a lot of Memphis. 2006, Hurricane Rita hit. And me and the wife, we didn't have any kids at the time. And I was like, what's holding us here? We both got crappy jobs. We're young. Let's move. My friend was living in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And we were doing a radio show down here. And I was like, let's go up to Jonesboro. And me and Josh will try to get our radio show going again. Well, anyways, you're close to Memphis. And we were excited about the whole Memphis thing. And Emory, the classic crime, Kingsdown, and After the Tragedy were having a show in Memphis.
I absolutely adore the classic crime. That's one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah, and they did great. And we got to go backstage and hang out with them because somebody that Josh knew from his job was kind of on and off dating Josh Head from Emory. So it was kind of cool. We got to go hang out with all the bands back there, throw frisbee with them and chop it up. But when we walked out of the venue, my wife does not run, but nighttime Memphis, it doesn't seem that dangerous or that foreboding. Nighttime Memphis, you can feel the danger in the air. And as soon as we walked out that venue, I looked at her and she looked at me and I said, run to the car. And she said, run to the car. And we ran to the car.
I can say I've never necessarily been in a situation that bad. Actually, we had a sketchy situation in Mobile a few months ago. Me and my buddies, they just built a new Topgolf place. Awesome place. We go, have a good time. I'm not a drinker very much. I didn't have anything to drink, especially with obviously what I do for a living. You got to be very clean. I mean, you will get busted really quick because they do drug tests all the time. And so I'm always clean and, cut or whatever. And a bunch of buddies went, and some of them had a few drinks. It wasn't too wild. We go to walk out in the parking lot to leave, and there's like a